Hey YouTube, I'm here to talk about my labor and delivery. Yeah, I had the baby on September the 19th. Today is October the 1st. So it's been almost 2 weeks. He's almost 2 weeks old. Um, I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys him right now. Yeah, he's sleeping behind me. So right now I'll show you guys what he looks like and everything. So yeah, let's start talking about my labor and delivery. What had happened is I was induced. Oh, sorry, the light. I was induced because I was showing signs of preeclampsia. But I guess I'll start back on the 9th. September the 9th. Yeah. September the 9th, I went in for, the traditional OB appointment and everything. So I went in and, sorry, trying to sit up. I went in and they, of course, they take my blood pressure and all that different stuff. So the nurse takes my blood pressure and it was pretty high. And she's like, and not only this, but I had one of my friends, the one that does all the photography and stuff like that. She was pregnant at the same time as me, but I think she was like a week ahead of me, and she had preeclampsia. So, and at 35 weeks, she had to be induced and have the baby because her blood pressure was so high. So anyway, I think I was 35 weeks on September the 5th. I was 35 weeks. On the 12th, I was 36, and then on the 19th, I was 37. So I was already 35 weeks and 4 days on the 9th. So and I was swollen and all the different stuff, so all the swelling and stuff like that, and I had all the same signs that she did, but I wasn't really expecting me to have preeclampsia, but then again, it kind of just happened, but it was still in the back of my mind, it was still in the back of my mind that I could have it, so I was preparing myself, basically. So I went in for that appointment, and when they told me right away that my blood pressure was high, I was freaking out. I was like, I hope they don't send me to the hospital right now, and because I didn't even have my diaper, I didn't have my hospital bag or my diaper bag, or the car seat wasn't even in the car, so we weren't ready. It was crazy, and not only that, but he didn't even have everything that he really needed. He didn't have blankets and little things. He had all the big things, but little things he didn't really have. He had clothes and all the different stuff, but blankets and stuff like that, and yeah, basically just blankets. So, he didn't have those. So we weren't ready. I was freaking out. Excuse me. So yeah, on the 5th, oh no, it wasn't the 5th, the 9th, which was September the 9th, which was a Monday, my blood pressure was high, so she told me, because I was laying down when they had to take my blood pressure, because she was looking for the baby's heartbeat and everything like that too. So she told me just to lay there and just to relax, and she was going to check it again in a few minutes. So she did, and it was still high. So she checked it a third time, a few minutes later, and it was still high. And I was just like, please don't, tell me I need to go straight to the hospital. So they told me, you know what, let's get a urine sample or whatever, and I was like, okay. So I went and I gave them my urine sample, and they sent me to another room. They sent me to another room. It's I guess it's a relaxing room that they have there. It has these really comfortable couches, and these recliners, I guess you could say, these recliner couches. And so I laid there with my feet up and was just resting and relaxing, and I was just breathing and trying to relax. And she said, I'll be back in about 20 to 30 minutes to check your blood pressure again. So I laid there for about 30 minutes, and she came back in and she checked it again, and it was normal. It had gone down, so I was able to bring it down, which was a relief. So then I saw the doctor and everything, and we talked, and he's like, "Do you have headaches or blurry vision and all that stuff?" And I said no. I didn't have the only signs that I have for preeclampsia was the high blood pressure and the swelling. Like my feet and legs and my hands were swelling for weeks and weeks and weeks. So those were the only signs that I really had. And not only that, but my friend, the one that had to deliver at 35 weeks, those were the only signs she had also, was the high blood pressure and the swelling. And that was it. So she didn't have headaches or any of the other signs. So that's what happened on the night. So they sent me home, but they told me to come back. No, they sent me home, but then they called me and they said, "Come back. We need to give you the materials that you need for a 24-hour urine collection." And I was like, okay. So I went back and I got all the stuff I needed, and I had to collect my urine for 24 hours, which was a pain. Ugh, I didn't like it. It was a pain. So, and then I had to go back in on Wednesday, which was the 11th, which was 2 days later. So I went back in, I gave them my big jug of urine that they made me collect, and so they checked my blood pressure again, and my blood pressure that day was normal. Because when I went in, I was just like, I'm just going to relax, I'm just going to breathe, because I don't want to go to the hospital yet. So I did. And so I just relaxed. And, by this point, I was already going to my OB every week. So my next appointment was the following Monday, which was the 16th. So I went in on the 16th, and they took my blood pressure, and right away it was pretty high. So, but it wasn't extremely high. It was over normal. Like, it was in the high range, but it was just like right above normal. So the doctor comes in, and he goes, and at that time my boyfriend was at work. Usually he would go with me to my appointments, but since it was a Monday, because Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays the doctor that we work for sees patients, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays he doesn't. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays it's easier for my boyfriend to come to my appointments with me, but since the past couple times they were on Mondays, he wasn't able to come. So he wasn't able to come on that day or the previous one. So my OB comes in, and of course he asked me the questions again. Do you have headaches or any of that stuff? And I said, no, I'm perfectly fine. Like, I feel normal. And he's like, because your blood pressure is a little bit high. And I'm like, okay. And he said, we also tested your urine, and he said, I think he said like the normal range is like 300 and lower for like protein in the urine or something like that, but mine was above 350, I think, or around 350. So he said, I do have protein in my urine, which is another sign of preeclampsia, and of course the swelling, and then the high blood pressure. So he said, since you have protein in your urine, and since your blood pressure is, going up and down and stuff, and you have a lot of swelling, we're probably going to have to schedule you to be induced. And I was like, okay, I was already kind of prepared for it. So I was hoping, like, at that point I was like, please don't send us today, because no, we didn't have anything ready. Still, we didn't have anything ready. After all that had happened, I still didn't go home and get everything ready. So he told me to call my boyfriend and see if he's able to come in so he can talk to both of us. So I did, and of course he comes in, and he says, we're going to have to schedule you for Thursday, the September the 19th, because that's the day that you'll be 37 weeks. And that's basically considered, full term in pregnancy. So, and it's a safe time to have the baby. So we scheduled it for the 19th because he said, since my preeclampsia is not severe, it's basically kind of mild. It wasn't like an emergency. So, he told us, like, if anything happens between now and then, of course, go straight to the ER. So he said if I started getting like headaches or feeling dizzy or blurred vision or whatever, any of those other signs, to go straight to the ER. That's what he told me. So, and not only that, but he also checked me. He checked my cervix and everything, and I was already 2 centimeters, which was crazy. he was like, when he checked me, he was like, wow, you're already 2 centimeters. You know, I was expecting you to be completely closed. And I had a feeling I was already starting to open up because by 33 weeks, I felt my baby drop. And a lot of people thought that, you know, it was just all in my head or whatever. And I was like, no, I felt him. I know he's down there. I feel a lot of pressure and everything. Sorry, I thought he was waking up. So, and I had felt him drop. And not only that, but like every week or every day after that, I just felt him getting lower and lower. I just felt this pressure down there. And then, like, I was also having, I've been having Braxton Hicks contractions since I was 12 weeks pregnant, so those were normal to me. And I didn't ever really feel any pain, but for the past week before I was induced, I was getting a lot of cramps. A lot of cramps and a lot of, I was going to the restroom a lot, and all this. I think I mentioned them all in my pregnancy vlogs. So, yeah, that's basically what happened before I was induced. So, yeah, yeah. So on the 16th, that's when we got the news that on the 19th we were gonna have our baby, and I was extremely excited. I was so excited. I don't know. I was just very happy. But then again, I was also very nervous at the same time because I didn't know how much he was gonna weigh. I didn't know, you know, that type of stuff. Because I'm a very small person, so I can't really carry a big baby. But he also, on that day, he also did an ultrasound, excuse me, just to check to see if there was plenty of fluids, because I think with preeclampsia, sometimes, like, I think he said something about the fluids not being very good. Hold on. There. He was saying something like the fluids can decrease or something like that. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But of course my baby had plenty of fluids and everything like that, so he was perfectly fine. There was nothing to worry about. So they scheduled me for the induction and everything, and right away we went home and we packed our hospital bag and we put the car seat in the car, and we went out and got a couple blankets and stuff like that because he didn't have any blankets. So that's basically what happened before I went to the hospital. So when on the 19th, when I went in to be induced, well, those past couple days, I think he actually swept my membrane when he checked me. I'm not sure, or maybe he pulled out my mucus plug or something. I don't know what he did, but because when he was checking me, he was in there for a while, and he was kind of like moving his hand around and stuff like that. So I'm thinking he probably did sweep my membrane just to try to make labor progress or whatever. Which to me is not a big deal, you know, if he did or not. Because I was gonna have to be induced anyway or whatever. And I think he was trying to help me go into labor more naturally or whatever. And I think it kind of worked because I was getting more cramps and everything, and I was more uncomfortable, and I was having a harder time sleeping the next couple nights before I was induced. So, hold on. So I had to go in on Thursday at 5:30 in the morning. So we got up, we went to the hospital, and I got in there, and they hooked me up to the IV and all the different stuff, and they put the blood pressure thing on my arm or whatever and all the different stuff, and they were checking my blood pressure every 30 minutes. I think it was every 30 minutes. Yeah, every 30 minutes the machine would go off and check my blood pressure and put it on the monitor. So, yeah, and then the doctor came in at 7:30, and he checked me, and by then I was 3 centimeters. So he was pretty happy about that. So, and he also broke my water. I think it was around 7:30 or 8. He checked me again. He said I was about 3 centimeters, and he broke my water. And they were by this point they were already giving me Pitocin and all that different stuff to help, you know, make labor come faster. And then he was telling me right before he left, he said, okay, I think you're gonna probably deliver around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, like, you know, that's a long time. Um, so, but, you know, he knew what he was talking about, and he was basically right on the dot, because, yeah. Um, so he left and everything, and the nurses were there, and they asked me all these questions, um, about different things, about, like asking me questions about, like, the baby, and I guess like a birth plan type of thing or whatever, and they were typing it into the computer and stuff like that. So they were asking me all these questions, and I was answering them, and my boyfriend was in the room with me, and so yeah, and about every hour they came in to check me. Let me see if I can bring up, because I know I put it on Facebook. Sorry. So they were checking me about every hour, and they kept moving my position too as well. About every hour they would come in and move you to a different position. Yeah, here we go. I was updating everybody on Facebook, on my Facebook fan page, about how many centimeters I was and at what times and stuff like that. Where did I start? Okay, so yeah, on the 18th I said I've been having contractions all night, but I'm still able to walk and talk through them, and but they are getting stronger. So yeah, I put that on. That was on the 18th at night. So yeah, I had been at the hospital since 5:45, and they already broke my water, and I'm already 4 centimeters. So yeah, they broke my water, and I was about 4 centimeters at that time. And then they checked me again. Why is this thing? Okay, they checked me again at about 11:15, and at that time I was about 6 centimeters. That's what I wrote here. And then I'm guessing about an hour later I was 7 centimeters. And I know for a fact around 4 o'clock, I think it was around 4:15 actually. I think it was around 4:15. I was 10 centimeters. And, which is basically what the doctor told me, like, you know, I'll be ready, you know, around 4 o'clock. The baby's going to come around 4 o'clock. So they checked me, and I was 10 centimeters and everything, and they're like, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to do some practice pushes? So, I was like, okay, I guess. So they had called the doctor, they had called the office, my OB's office, and asked if he was there, and they said that he had just left. I guess he was going to come to the hospital. So they said, okay. And that was around, I think, 4:30 or something like that, that they had called him. I think they had, like, what's it called? Paged him or something like that around 4:15, letting him know that I was already 10 centimeters. So, I did some practice pushes every time I had a contraction, and by this point, I had gotten the epidural. Let me backtrack. I had gotten the epidural when I was around 4 or 5 centimeters, and I was not in pain at all. Like, they had broken my water. Several hours later, I was still not in pain. I think it was about 4 or 5 centimeters, and I didn't feel any contractions. I felt my stomach getting hard, and I felt the Braxton Hicks and stuff, but I didn't feel any cramping, any pain, nothing. No discomfort, nothing like that. But since they told me that that if I want to get the epidural, that I should get it early, and they actually recommended that I do get the epidural because of my preeclampsia and because of my blood pressure. And usually, like, if you're in pain, your blood pressure can go up. And since I had preeclampsia, they didn't want to really risk that. So I was like, you know what? Might as well just give it to me now. So I was around like 4 or 5 centimeters when they gave me the epidural. And by the time I was 10 centimeters, it had basically worn off. Like, it was, the button thing was right there, and she kept pushing the button thing for me because I started feeling very, very, very uncomfortable, and I was actually in pain. I was starting to be in a lot of pain. So she, of course was pushing the button. She said push it twice every 15 minutes or whatever, and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, because it would like increase the dosage or something like that. And but it wasn't working. I was just getting in more pain, more pain. It probably would, maybe it was working, but maybe since I was in so much pain, the pain was just pushing through the epidural. But I was to the point where like I was like moaning and stuff like that. Like I wasn't I couldn't really like breathe through them either. I was in so much pain. I was trying to breathe through them, but I couldn't really breathe through them. And so when I was 10 centimeters, she said, okay, let's start doing practice pushing. And I know some other girls that I watch on YouTube were saying that once you, wow, that makes me look so pale. Once you have the urge to push, if you don't push, it's extremely painful. But when you do push, it's kind of like a relief. It feels really good. And it's true. Like they told me once I started having the contractions, I think I had like one or two before, where I felt the urge to push, like a major urge to push, before they let me push, and it was so hard. It was so hard to hold it. It was so hard because I just wanted to push. I had like a lot of pressure down there, and I felt this massive urge to push, and it hurt so bad, and I was trying so hard to breathe through them, and I couldn't. It wasn't good. So she was like, okay, let's do some practice pushes, and this is what I want you to do. And she told me to put my hands, behind my legs and stuff like that. And I don't know if you see him. You see him right there. It's my baby. So anyway, so I started pushing, and his head started coming out. Well, when she first checked me, she said I'm 10 centimeters, but he's really, really high up there. And so I started pushing, and like right away he slipped right down. Like he came down pretty quickly. And I'm thinking she was actually kind of like holding him there, I guess you can say. I'm not sure because the doctor wasn't even there yet and stuff, but she didn't want me to be in so much pain, but then again she didn't want me to end up delivering him before the doctor got there. So she was letting me push, and then for like a couple contractions, and then she made me not push for a couple contractions, and it was so painful. It was so painful. I was like, are you serious? And she's like, just breathe, don't make any noise, just breathe, because I guess you use more energy when you make noise. And I wasn't screaming or anything, I was just like moaning, and she was telling me not to make any noise, just to breathe, like in my nose and out my mouth. And so I was doing that, but it was just so painful. Like I was able to do it in between, and then of course when I pushed, whatever, but when the contractions were there and she was telling me not to push, I couldn't breathe. I had a hard time breathing. I was trying so hard to relax and to breathe, but it was crazy. So yeah, and she had her hand down there. I don't know if she was holding him, or maybe she was trying to open my cervix more or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, so around 4:30 they called the office and they said that he had just left and he was going to be there shortly. And I think around 4:45 or 4:50 he got there, and he comes in, he's like, you know what, let me just change my scrubs, because like, he was seeing patients, stuff like that, and of course he just wanted to have clean scrubs on, when he delivers a baby, of course. So he goes and he changes his scrubs, and I'm just there like, oh my god, hurry up, like I just want to get this baby out. I was so excited too. Like I was in pain, but I was very, very, very excited. And so the doctor comes back in, and at this point he comes back in around, I think 5:15. I think it was around 5:15 or 5:16, and the nurse told me, okay, you're gonna push one more time and the baby's gonna come out. And I'm like, he could have been out like a long time ago. Like I've been pushing this whole time, and now, like, because his head he was crowning, but it was very, very small. Like, my boyfriend said it was like maybe the size, like he was crowning maybe the size, I don't know, it wasn't that big. But so the doctor goes down there, and I think he cut me at that point. I don't remember. I was in just so much pain that I don't remember. But yeah, he had to cut me. He had to give me an episiotomy, 2nd degree. So he cut me, and then he said, "Okay, now push." And when I pushed, of course, I felt like this pop, which was his head had popped out. And the doctor started, I was still pushing, and he said, "Well, push slower, 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 slower," because his body was starting to come out too. So he starts pulling the baby out and everything, and then he gets up, and the doctor's holding the baby while he's cleaning out his mouth and stuff like that. And I was just in extreme, like, the baby had come out, but I was still in so much pain. Like, I felt like I was extremely constipated, and I couldn't, do anything about it. Like, it was just very, very painful. And I'm pretty sure it was probably from the cut that's what did it. But I felt very, very, like, it was in my bottom. It was like I was very, very constipated, and nothing I could do would, relieve the pain. So, he's cleaning the baby out or whatever, and stuff like that, and he cuts the cord, and then he passes the baby to the nurses, and the nurses go and take him, they clean him up and stuff like that, and the doctor, I guess since I was in so much pain, I guess he didn't want my blood pressure to go up or something like that. He was trying to get the placenta out, but he didn't want to put me in more pain than what I was already in. And he kept asking me, like, what's the matter, talk to me, what hurts and stuff. And I was telling him, I said, it just hurts, like, down there or whatever, and, like, in my bottom or whatever. And he was like, maybe if I get the placenta out, the pain will go away. So I was like, okay, and I was trying to breathe through them. He was telling me, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. And so I was breathing, and I was trying to breathe, because it was just like a constant pain. I had no relief. Like, it was not like a pain that was coming and going. It was just constant. And he was trying to push on my stomach to get the placenta out, but he was also pulling on the cord. And he told me, he's like, I don't want to hurt you because you're already in so much pain, but if I just only pull on this cord, I'm afraid it's going to snap, and I'm going to have to go in there and actually pull the placenta out. And then I was like, you know what, just do whatever you have to do, just to pull it out. He goes, because I'm going to have to push on your stomach, but it's going to be like pretty uncomfortable. I guess he was just like warning me. And I said, go ahead, just do whatever you need to do. So he pushes really hard on my stomach. It hurt so bad. He pushed really hard on my stomach, and like pushed down and like towards my bottom end, and he pulled the placenta out, and I felt the placenta come out and everything like that. And the pain kind of went away, but it was still there. Like, it was still pretty bad. And he started poking me, because he was going to stitch me up because of the from where he cut me. And and I was still feeling like the constipation pain. It wasn't as bad, but it was still pretty bad. And he's like, I'm gonna have to sew you up or whatever, and but I'm gonna have to give you some. Oh, my hair was all weird. Some numbing, so you're gonna feel like little pokes. Well, at first he started poking me with something. I don't know what he was poking me with. He said, "Can you feel that?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, I can feel that." And he's like, I think he knew that the epidural probably had worn off. So he had to numb me with a numbing stuff. He had to inject numbing stuff, and so it was like just like little pinches or whatever. And so he stitched me up and everything like that. Like, and I didn't feel that after he had numbed me. I didn't feel anything, but I was still in so much pain. Like, I felt so constipated, and I don't know if that's normal. Like, has anybody else felt that way after having a baby? Because I heard that once the placenta was out, you're supposed to be, like, feel relieved, but I was still in so much pain. And not only that, but I was shaking. I was shaking so bad. Like, I couldn't stop shaking. My whole body was just shaking, and I was just like, it was so funny because I kept apologizing to the doctor because he was trying to stitch me up, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to stop shaking, I can't stop shaking. He's like, no, it's perfectly normal, it's from the adrenaline or whatever, and stuff like that. And he was used to it. He's like, no, I'm used to it, don't worry about it, And I was like, okay. So yeah, and at that point, my boyfriend's mom was also in the room when I delivered as well. So she got to hold the baby first, which no big deal, whatever. They had cleaned him up and they had passed him to her, and she was just there, admiring him and stuff like that. My boyfriend was by my side the entire time, And I kept telling him, go hold your son, go hold your baby, go hold him, go hold him. And he didn't want to. He was waiting for the doctor to finish with me or whatever. He was just there by my side, and because he knew that I was in so much pain, he was just trying to help me breathe and stuff like that. And he's like, the baby's fine, don't worry about it, and you know, whatever. So it was nice that he was, you know, by my side trying to calm me down and stuff. And it was funny because the doctor was saying that most dads by this point are like, they're already out the door. Like they're terrified, they're scared, they just run out the door. But my boyfriend was there the entire time and coaching me through everything and everything like that. So it was pretty awesome. He's making a lot of noises. He's like making these like snorting noises. So yeah, he stitched me up and everything, and by that point everything was all good. They had put ice packs and everything, and they got me to relax. They put my legs down because I had my legs up on these things that were up, and they put my legs down and everything, and they checked my blood pressure and stuff. And I'm not sure if my blood pressure was high or not, but I also had fever. I also had like a fever of 101 or 100 or something like that. So they kept giving me Tylenol. So they gave me Tylenol a few times just to bring my fever down. And it was also throughout my labor too that I started, you know, getting fever as well. So they kept giving me Tylenol. And they also had to put me on oxygen too while I was in labor as well. So yeah, that's my labor and delivery up until, you know, of course I had the baby and stuff like that. So, and now he's here and he's over there, and actually my boyfriend's home. I just heard him backing the van into the driveway. So yep, that's my labor and delivery. And I actually have footage that I've taken at the hospital, and then, you know, we filmed the birth and all that different stuff. And what else? And yeah, so I'll make a separate video of all that. So, and we have a lot of pictures too, so I'll make a separate video of all that stuff. And oh, let me show you. So here he is. He has a lot of hair. Yeah, he has his arms down there. He has a lot of hair. And he's actually 12 days old today, I think. Yeah, today is October the 1st. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, so he's about 12 days old, I think. So, yep, there he is. Hope you guys enjoyed my labor and delivery video, and I'll have the other videos up later.